Thank you everyone for coming. I'm Joanna Hodorowska. Nutrition Emotion is the company that I started 15 years ago. And through working with athletes through my own little issues and injuries, I had a hip replacement 3 years ago. I actually perfected the anti-inflammatory diet. And the anti-inflammatory diet is really not that complicated, but a lot of times you don't realize that some of the foods that you're eating are causing the problem. If you're waking up with stiff hips and tight muscles, it's not because you're getting older. It's not because you ran too far. It's because you're probably consuming the typical athlete foods that are actually inflammatory. So I'm going to try to review some of the foods that are, I'll give you the 5 things that are the most inflammatory. I'm going to do a little demonstration, so I'm going to need a volunteer at some point for the nutrition response testing, which is a tool that I use that helps to identify some of those inflammatory foods and identify foods that deplete your energy and foods that are actually helping your energy, because that's also part of the anti-inflammatory diet. Is we want to identify those foods that are depleting to you and then replace them with foods that are obviously giving you more energy, because that's what athletes want, right? You want energy, you don't want fatigue, you don't want aches and pains, you want to be able to just keep going. So those are some of the things that I'm going to talk about. I do have, this is an anti-inflammatory elixir that I created. It is very green.
It does taste good.
Did you notice? But it does taste good. That's the whole idea. And this is something that the recipe is on my website. There's 2 versions of it. It is you can do it in a juice extractor, which will get the nutrients into your system a lot faster. But most people don't have a juice extractor, so I put it into a shake form. This way you can make it. You make a big batch of it, and you basically try to have 12 ounces a day, okay? But it's got a whole bunch of anti-inflammatory ingredients in it, and the idea is you want to couple that with including the anti-inflammatory foods, and then also remove the inflammatory foods to get the biggest benefit. Because if you're eating inflammatory foods and drinking this, your net gain is going to be pretty much nil. You know, if you're taking anti-inflammatory supplements like fish oils or turmeric root and cat's claw and some of the other homeopathic options or herbal options, if you're still consuming the inflammatory foods, maybe he is, maybe he's not, but I'll test him on that, you know. But if you're still consuming those inflammatory foods, you're really not getting the full benefit of it, and you're going to amplify the aging process as well and increase the amounts of aches and pains you have. So the whole idea is that athletes are supposed to be aching because they went and ran or they did hill repeats or anything like that is a bunch of bunk. You're probably just eating the wrong foods. So you're not really benefiting from the exercise as much as you want, because you've got pain the next day and then you have to take a day off. Or you get a lot of injuries, and then that's usually an inflammatory process too. So I do have a handout that I'm going to give to you later, and it has a link on there to give you a little bit of a background of what the difference is between acute inflammation and chronic inflammation. And the acute inflammation, obviously, when you stub your toe, your toe aches and it swells. That acute inflammation is normal. It's supposed to go away in a day or 2. If it does, it's the inflammation that stays around for days and days and days and doesn't go away. And you've got that chronic back pain, you've got the chronic hip pain, you've got the chronic knee pain. Those are the things that the body is in a state of inflammation. And it's not just in the joints, it's probably everywhere else in the body too. And you're going to accelerate the aging process if you continue on the path that you're on, continuing to consume the foods that are inflammatory. So we're trying to include more of the anti-inflammatories to stop that part and also stop that inflammatory response, because the inflammatory response is not supposed to be chronic. It's supposed to turn on and it's supposed to turn off. It's supposed to turn on when you have an injury. It's supposed to turn off when you're not. So when I had my hip injury several years ago, I ended up actually getting my foot stuck in the mud playing football and pulled everything on me. Yeah, don't play football in the rain. It can be a problem. So my foot got suctioned actually into the mud, and when it unstuck, it just pulled everything on the inside of the adductors and into the hip flexor and everything else. And as I started eliminating more activities, then the imbalances got worse in my hip, but the hip kept aching, and running had to go. So I would just ride my bike, do yoga, and swim. And it kind of, the movement helped, because movement always helps with any kind of joint issues. But that's, when I ate certain foods, my hip would hurt worse. I happen to be doing the nutrition response testing certification during this time too. And so I was my first guinea pig of how does this really work and what do I do with it? But it helped identify the inflammatory foods for me. And for me, my 4 things that were included weren't all foods. Sometimes it's things that you're actually putting on the skin too, that your skin is an organ and it absorbs. So if you're putting chemicals on the skin, the chemicals could actually be triggering some of that inflammation or keeping you in that state of inflammation and you don't even know it. So that's why I do the nutrition response testing. So the ones that came up for me, and it's not always the same ones for everybody, wheat is typically one of the most inflammatory foods. So that's typically in your bagels, your pretzels. I think somebody brought pretzels. I hate to tell you, but it's in beer as well. So for, that can be, it's great for a recovery drink from the carbohydrate standpoint, but it might be adding to the inflammation, which, it's not going to be that good of a benefit. And most people aren't going to drink, a shot of this with their beer. It just doesn't go together. And I'm not suggesting you do that
You
either.
put vodka in that.
Pardon?
You put vodka in that or something.
You probably could put vodka in this, It's something that just...
You are absolutely correct.
You are absolutely correct. You can do that. But sugar is the other problem, so maybe vodka wouldn't be the best option either. But it's something where you have to have a quality of life too. So for some people, wine is a problem. For other people, it's not. For me, the red wine's not a problem. The day before surgery, I had 2 glasses of wine, and my hip was fine the next morning when I woke up and went to surgery. So it really depends on the individual, but that's why I do some of the testing, because we have to find out what that is. And it's not everybody's going to have a problem with this. Some people have no issues with wheat whatsoever. It just happens to be one of the top 5. The next one is sugar. And it doesn't matter what kind of sugar. It's the white sugar, the brown sugar, the corn syrup, any of those things. Sugar is inflammatory, no ands, ifs, or buts.
Is honey okay, a good substitute?
For most people, honey is okay in terms of anti-inflammatory. That's something that I do test when I do the nutrition response testing, because if sugar is a problem, I want to make sure that I'm not suggesting to replace it with honey and maple syrup if honey and maple syrup aren't going to work okay. I also test the other artificial sweeteners, because everybody thinks artificial sweeteners are great, but they're going to be a problem because they're artificial sweeteners. And most of them are also combined with dextrose, which is sugar, which is inflammatory. So, anytime you're throwing a chemical into the body, which most artificial sweeteners are chemicals, you are creating inflammation because you're throwing toxins into the body, okay? And then you overload the liver, and then it becomes a whole nother cascade of other issues.
What about fruit? What about fruit sugar?
For some people, fruit sugar is okay. For some people, it's not. But, the thing is that we're talking about inflammation right now. So when you asked about the honey and the maple syrup, they're not typically inflammatory. But if you have an issue with blood sugar management, fruit and fruit sugar, plus the honey, plus the maple syrup, it's still going to be an issue because we're talking about blood sugar management. But that we're going to talk about in I think the April 27th one meeting about the calories don't matter. Because it's about the quality of the foods, not the calories. So when you're looking at the sweeteners, from an anti-inflammatory standpoint, fruit should be okay, and same with honey and maple syrup, because they're natural sweeteners. Bless you. Okay. So that's now what, three categories that are inflammatory, right? And I said that there's 5 main ones, right? Well, you guys are listening, right? So can anybody guess what the next one might be? So I've got wheat, sugar, and artificial sweeteners.
Red meat?
For some people.
Animal fat?
Dairy for some, but that's not one of the top 5. That's usually the next one. But for a lot of people, dairy is actually inflammatory, and you want to go with the grass-fed dairy and grass-fed meat as well, because it is less inflammatory. And any wild meats are going to be okay as well. All right, you still have another chance. There's 2 more. Hydrogenated fats. That's probably one of the most inflammatory foods out there. Okay? Your body doesn't know what to do with it, but
What's an
that will make
example of
everything. What's an example of it? Hydrogenated fat is only in processed foods. So they basically have added a hydrogen atom onto the fat molecule so that it can have a longer shelf life. So that's why it's only in processed foods. But something like a fig Newton, that, everybody thinks that's a really great, healthy thing. But if you look at the label, it's got the wheat in there, and it's got sugar, but it has partially hydrogenated cottonseed oil or some kind of oil in there. So it doesn't matter if it's partially hydrogenated or fully hydrogenated, it's going to cause inflammation, and for most people, it's also going to cause that mushy belly fat around their middle, and that mushy muffin top. So if you're wondering, what's causing some of your pain, it could be the coffee creamer you're putting in your coffee. It tastes really good, but that has both the corn syrup, sugar, and typically hydrogenated fat in there as well, because that gives it the right consistency to go into your coffee. Okay? Make sense? And there's one more. What do you guys think it is? Well, corn syrup one, I put that in with the sugar, but that is one. Absolutely. Because corn can be inflammatory for a lot of people because it's genetically modified. But that wasn't part of the list. So the last one, I'll just give it to you because otherwise we might be here for 20 more minutes. So the last one is any of the artificial, like the preservatives. So any of those things. So it's going to be in your lunch meats. It's going to be in, even just the regular rotisserie chicken. You're going to find, if you're not getting the organic one, you're going to find a lot of preservatives in those products. And anything that's a preservative is a chemical which isn't natural, and your body basically reacts with inflammation and pain. And for some people, it's GI distress on top of it. So that's inflammation of the gut. And if you might notice that when you're in a stressful period, that's another time where inflammation is worse, because what you think and how you feel creates negativity and creates inflammation in the body. So it's kind of, that's part of the other things that I do too. But from an inflammatory standpoint, you want to try to limit those foods, and you want to start now including some of the the anti-inflammatory foods instead of consuming those pro-inflammatory foods that I mentioned. So anybody want to guess? I should ask you, anybody want to guess what's in here? So there are cups over there. I brought this. I actually made it this afternoon just so that you can all try it. Okay? I know everybody's kind of like, ew, that's disgusting, but it's really tasty. It really. Somebody else tried it earlier because the way that I could drink this all the time, but it's something where you don't have to get used to it. You just have to get used to making it and drinking it.
It was good. It was good.
See, she said it was
Yeah,
good.
it tasted really good.
So I do need that guinea pig though first for the nutrition response testing. So who wants to come up here and because I'm just gonna do. All I need is one person. Sure. And then I'm gonna pass this around. Pardon me? No needles. No, that's the benefit of it. There's no needles. There's no nothing. So you have. I haven't talked to her before. What's your name? Karen. Hi, Karen. Joanna. Nice to meet you. So I'm just gonna do just a quick test of the basic thing, and then I'm gonna test like wheat and a few other things, and we're just going to test the energy of those foods, and you're just going to do what your body will react and it will tell me, because if it's a low energy food, you won't be able to keep your arm.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I think I need to, can you come over on this side? Because I can't reach over there. So you're just gonna match my pressure. Okay, and that's it. That's as hard as I'm gonna push. Okay. So go ahead and match my pressure. And then those two together. A little lighter, no, a little lighter on the arm. All right, and now close your eyes and open. Then open that up and then same thing on this side. Close your eyes and open. Okay, so I brought these little vials of, you know, if somebody can bring me a pretzel, I can do it with real food.
Ironically enough, we have those.
I know, ironically enough, so you're just going to put it against your body, okay? So the energy of the food is either going to give her more energy or it's going to disconnect the energy. And we'll do it both ways. So, do you notice? I'm not pushing any harder, but you can't resist. Now,
Am I supposed to be resistant?
well, notice how you're what I pushed down now, just match my pressure. I don't have to push that hard and your arm stays up, right?
Mhm.
So now we're gonna take a pretzel, we're gonna do the real food thing, and you're gonna put that against you. And same thing, match my pressure, and you can't match my pressure. That's what I'm trying to tell you. That's a low energy food for her. So it's a popular item after a run, but it's not necessarily giving you energy. It's giving you calories and it's giving you carbohydrates, but it's not going to give you energy that the body needs. It's actually going to be depleted overall. Your body's probably going to spend more energy trying to deal with this. Digest it, it's hard to digest, but it's going to spend more energy trying to overcome the drain than it is actually giving you energy. So then this is the anti-inflammatory shake.
Just don't want to drop.
Right, and, wait, just, let's try this again. Right,
Relax.
match my pressure, okay. And then you're gonna do that. And I don't have to, I hardly even have to touch you at all, and your arm is actually stronger than it was without it.
So how does that work?
It's because this has all high energy foods in it. So now we're gonna do the other experiment. So you're gonna hold on to this, and you're gonna hold on to that, and it's okay, but it's not great. It's still, I don't know if you can all see the arm in different places. I can feel it from how hard I'm touching, but I'm basically using 2 fingers. And this has more high energy nutrients in it, but consuming this will overcome and make that a little bit better. But eating that, which the wheat, which is totally draining, because you couldn't even keep your arm up at all, regardless of what I did.
Yeah.
So when you combine high energy foods with the low energy foods, then you can get that net zero effect. But we don't want that net zero effect. We want you to be really strong. We want that energy system to be in full effect. So, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, but that's the nutrition response testing that I do, and you can come in just for the nutrition response testing. We can do the testing to find out, are some of the foods causing some of the issues that you have, or is it some of the chemicals, or is it something else that's causing an energy drain in your system? Make sense? And the nutrition response testing, it's $45. But it's something that it gives you a starting point of, okay, what can we do? And if you wanted to add a nutrition session to it, then we can either add a 30-minute or a 45-minute session to it, just to be able to take the results and actually help to create a nutrition plan with it. Yeah, because just because you find out that wheat's a problem doesn't mean that, okay, tomorrow I'm gonna eat wheat free. What the hell does that mean? How am I going to do that? Where is that stuff? Well, what are my alternatives? So I do a lot of testing to find out, well, what are your alternatives? What other grains can you do? So if wheat was a problem, which we determined, I just brought a couple other things. That's buckwheat. So you can do buckwheat. Now, trust me, everybody doesn't react exactly the same way. This is amaranth. And the amaranth is actually a little bit stronger than the buckwheat. And this is also a popular athlete food, and your body doesn't really like it that much. It's quinoa. And I think I brought it.
Let me remove these toxins for you.
Thank you.
Public service, public service.
I appreciate that.
It's very kind of you to take a hit for the team, you know, and those are oats. You know, so I test a lot of the other grains so that we have other alternatives. But then there's all sorts of other foods that you can use in place of some of the inflammatory ones. And that's part of the work that I do with clients is help you devise that other plan if something comes up to be a problem. Okay? Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Now the question is, who wants to try this? I'm gonna pass it around, except somebody's got to get the cups. Does anybody have any questions?
What is the main ingredient?
What's in there?
Pardon me?
I suggest you try it because it's actually very good. And you'd be surprised.
So I'm on my website. If you go to www.nutritioninmotion.net, you will have the whole recipe, and it's called the J-Shake Anti-Inflammatory Elixir. So what's in it? This one has baby kale, spinach, and chard, pineapple, apple cider, daikon radish, cabbage. I said pineapple already. Turmeric root and ginger. But the whole recipe with the amounts and everything else is on the website.
Don't be scared.
Smells like lawn cookies.
It
smells like what?
This I made in the blender in the Vitamix. Yeah. So, all right.